Hello and welcome back to the Java tutorial. Today we're going to be kind of extending off of last episode and talking about reference types versus primitive types, but this time we're going to be talking about them in the context of methods. So in the last episode we distinguished what a reference type was and what a primitive type was and how they're stored in memory essentially. So we're just going to kind of see how they're passed into methods now. So let's look at this in OneNote quickly. So let's say we have some values. So int a equals 5, and this is in main, let's say, or whatever the arguments are there. So we have the value, and this gives us a value of 5 in memory because that's primitive. Now let's say we have a string b is equal to str in quotations. So therefore, b is now stores a reference, let's say 0x100, which points to some place in memory where this string is actually held. So str is somewhere in memory. Now let's say we pass both of these into, let's use our ball class from last time. So just the ball had a radius, a double. So let's say we had ball C is equal to new ball 5.0. This doesn't, I'm just going to say new ball, and then C dot radius is equal to 5.0. So now C points to another place in memory, let's say 0x500, and this points to a ball object, which just has a radius of now 5. Like so. So let's say we get a method, I'll just say method 2, and this takes an integer, a. Maybe I should just drag this down a little more. Integer a, let's say a1, string b1, and ball c1. So now in this method, let's say we call method 2 and pass an a, b, c. So the integer, the ball, and then the integer, the string, and then the ball. So what happens now in method 2 is it has local variables a1, b1, and c1. Now what these point to are, let me actually just drag this, let me actually arrange this a little better so that it's easier to kind of visualize. So a is 5, then we have b is some location in memory, 0x100, and c is another location in memory, 0x500. And this points to a string, and this points to a ball object with a radius of 5.0. So now in the method 2, what happens is we allocate new data, and with primitive types, what happens is since we can't pass references, we copy the value completely. So we copy primitive values. So a1 has a value of 5 now. The ball string b1, but remember reference types, you can't. We're not going to be copying the values. So what we do is we copy the addresses. So b1 now has a value of 0x100, and this points to the same string. Now if we said, and then look at c1, it points to the same ball object, so 0x500. So now what would happen is, in method 2, if I said b or c1.radius minus equals 2, that would update. So let's do this in blue here. So c1 dot radius minus equals 2.0. What happens is this value is erased and is updated with 3.0. So the ball C in the main method now has a radius of 3. So let's look at this in code. So I'm actually just going to take the ball class from episode 8. I'm just going to copy it over. So now we're going to say public static void main string array args, and we're going to say, so an integer a is equal to 5. We're going to have string, or let's say integer I rather, and string s is equal to str, and then ball b is equal to new ball, and b dot radius is equal to 6.5. So now let's print these values out. So system.out.println I plus, oops, I'm just going to put these all in the same line. So I plus space plus s plus space plus b dot radius. And if we run this, I think it's pretty clear what we should get. We get a 5, then str, then 6.5. Now let's create our method. So public static no return type void method 2. We say integer a, string b, and ball c. And let's print this out again. So I'll just copy the print statement and put it in the method just to show you that we have the same things. I mean, that's explained. These are different names. A, B, and C. Oh, I need to call the method too. So pass in I, S, and B. And we get the same thing. So that's expected, really. Now let's modify the values in the method. So let's say A minus equals 4.0. B, so this is going to be weird. We're going to talk about strings later, but essentially what happens is if you modify a string, it just completely creates a new reference to it. So it's almost like saying if we say b plus equals just underscore, what will happen is this will create a new reference that will be stored in b, but the s will not be changed at all. So it's almost like saying b is equal to a new string with containing str plus the underscore. So we'll see how that works after. And then c.radius is equal to 2.0. So let's look at, now let's call the method and then we'll print out the values again. And you'll see exactly what we expected. So it's the 5 stays the same because remember primitive types you copy over. String stays the same because the reference was not modified at all. Its strings are what you call immutable, so you cannot modify them. However, this attribute here, this double radius, is mutable because you can modify it at there. So in here, when we say c1.radius, we go to the memory location and access the value directly. If we say b1 plus equals something, we destroy this. So if we were to say in method 2, let's say b1 dot, or b1 plus equals the underscore, what would happen is this reference is destroyed, and now b1 points to something else. So 150, which points to another string. This is just str underscore. So it creates a new reference, but the value in the main method has not been changed. So it's just the address that is being destroyed. And then 2.0, so 6.5, and then we just change it to 2.0, so it changes at the address. Okay, so that's essentially methods with reference types and primitive types.